Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at the garden PTS. So I actually got to experience the garden, have a little look around, and I want to give you my overall impressions of this. So this is the public test server, so some things may be subject to change in the actual release. But so far, I'm going to give you my impressions, what I think. We're going to start by looking at the entrance. We'll go through the hub areas. We'll talk a little bit about that and how you get around in the garden. And we'll talk about the quest that you can pick up in there, the daily quest, which was called the Scout Quest in the Korean version, but in the text it was translated as Scout Quest, but in this it's called the Faerie Quest. So we'll be taking a look at that, the rewards you get from that, and then we'll also be looking at how you get the next tier of armor, as well as all the consumables that you can get in the garden, and I'll give my opinion on whether or not this is pay to win in a form for Unchained, because I know that's a big concern of a lot of people, and I do want to address that and talk about some changes that I think should come. Now, as you can see, I'm in the Hall of Warriors. I'm wearing full Brilliant Aeronor Mythic gear. This is not fully gemmed, I have to point out, but I am in full Mythic, just so you get a good idea of, well, take a note of that for later, I'll say. And, yeah, let's go on over to the garden. So, it is in the Navel of the World, which is just north of Hall of Warriors. You can go there in the game right now, but as you reach the stairs here, there is an invisible wall. Now, when you head down the stairs, it is a long way down, so I'll just speed up the footage real quick. They really like to build it up on the way down, but then once you reach the bottom, you come across the garden gate, and the area around, like just in the cave there, is a peace area. Unfortunately, you can't just jump down the hole all the way to the bottom and reach the garden a lot quicker. I mean, you could backdrop, I guess, if you want to try and do that instead, but I just, you know, took the stairs. Anyway, as you enter the garden gate, you'll come on into the Gatekeepers Hall, and here you'll find Criprosa, who is sitting in a throne just watching the gate. I don't know the lore. I'm pretty sure she's one of the gods, I think. Well, she's the gatekeeper, or something along those lines. There is some lore to this, but hey, I'm pretty sure they put out like some sort of story somewhere on their website if you want to go take a look at that. But anyway, let's have a little look around. As you can see, the Gatekeepers Hall is this hub area, which is, it works as like an in-between for the garden and the actual world. So if we head on over this way, you'll see these 5 doors, which go to 5 different areas within the garden. Now, I'm not entirely sure how big the garden is compared to regular zones, but you will notice it is just one zone. But it is large, it is quite large, and the one thing I can say is the art in this expansion, the like design of everything just looks really cool, and I really like how everything looks. But we'll start by showing you that. We'll head on through the amber gate, and I'll show off a little bit of the world. Now then, when you first go through one of these 5 gates, you'll actually spawn just in front of a few fairies, and you'll notice one of the fairies has a daily quest above their head, and this is, of course, the Faerie Quest, which is the big new daily quest of the garden. I won't actually be able to do the story quests in here, because the PTS they've not really designed it very well for testing the new stuff, so it was a bit of a pain to even get the mythic gear, but fortunately, Archeage was at the gate one night, just handing gear out to people so they could get in, which I was very lucky to get, so thank you Archeage for that. But yeah, so the Faerie Quest, as you can see here, is a 12 level quest, and to get your level up, you need to acquire, well, for the first level, 2,500 points. Now, to get these levels, you need to either be outside of a peace zone in the garden for 10 seconds. This applies when the garden's actually in peace as well, so you can AFK in there to get the points up. The one thing to note about when the garden is in peace is you can't go beyond level 6, which is the furthest I did get, and I'll show you the rewards from level 6 at the end of this. But you also get 110 points for killing monsters during peace. During war, you get 150, And then killing enemy members of other factions, you get 200 points. Gathering, you get 30. And fishing, you get 10. On top of this, if you die, you lose 1 reward level, which is quite harsh. You lose a lot of points. And it does take quite a while to grind up. You can't do this in a big raid either. You can't just knock it out the way like you could with the daily raid. You do have to be in a party of 5, and the points are split between each party member in there. I think any more than 5 and the points don't count. Or maybe just the one person who finishes the kill. I don't know. I don't know how exactly that's going to work. But it doesn't seem to work in raids. And then some monsters also have a chance of granting an increased amount of points. Whatever that means. I think maybe Amphelon. Maybe Amphelon will get you some points when, you know, when you do defeat them, which I'm pretty sure you have to do in a raid. I've not got to do Amphelon yet. I'll probably do that on launch if I get the chance to, because I don't know if I'm even ready for the garden. We'll see. But yeah, you might be wondering, why would I want to gather or fish in the garden? And I did quite a lot of this, so let me go show you what you can acquire by gathering and fishing. So there are garden workbenches, which is where you can now craft the new tier of health and mana potions, as well as food and drinks and stuff for health and mana. These are only in Delphin and Mirage, along with the only warehouse and mailbox in the whole of the garden. And to get there, you can take one of the... You can actually go up to one of the new priestesses, which is just this fairy, and there's like a little like stick gate behind them that you can walk up to, and it can that allows you to port at any of the notable locations within the garden, one of which being Delphin and Mirage, and that'll take you right to the little village where you can find the blacksmith, the warehouse, the mailbox, and the garden workbench. Now, this does mean that these potions and this food and stuff can only be crafted in the garden. They are tradable, so I mean, people could kind of upsell these to players that don't have the expansion. That's one concern I do have, but I'll get more to that in my final thoughts. There is also another potion that you can acquire, and this potion is called Faerie Protection. Now, what this helps with is actually not losing your levels when you're in the garden. So if you die and you have this Faerie Protection on, you don't lose a reward level. You do instead, though, lose 1,000 points towards the next level. I don't know if this means it will cap you out, so if you die, you know, maybe if you're on like 100 points, you'll just go down to 0 and you won't go down a level. That seems to be what it's implying. But to get these, you do need to gather a lot of resources. You'll also need some Dawn Lake Light Essence, which you can get from fishing. Of course, fishing is also where you need to get the food. The potions seem to be the gathering, and the food seems to be the fishing, and that's how they relate. Now then, I think I'll get more into that later, but let's go see why you might be very cautious about dying in the garden. So, we have a lot of mobs in the garden, and they have quite a lot of health. You'll also notice they have these 2 buffs. Each one of them will have a different set of 2 buffs, called an attack boost and a defense boost. Now this ties in with the new enchant system in the game, which you can do on the highest tier of gear. And these attack boosts and defense boosts apply to the different types of weapons and the different types of armor. So certain mobs will do more damage to people wearing leather and some additional to people in cloth. Certain mobs will do more damage to people in plate and additional to people in cloth. And you'll have like certain mobs that will be easier for you to solo, depending on the mob. Like there's only, I'm trying to think, there's at least 3 different icons for attack boost and defense boost. I haven't really seen any more, but yeah, these are gonna be, you can't really fight mobs that do a lot of damage against you solo, at least. You can maybe deal with some of the ones that, you know, you do more damage to or you take less damage from. And there will be a few of these scattered around the garden, and then you can deal with them during peace. But even then, let's remember I am in full mythic, but I'm not gemmed. We're going to try and take on this Chromatic Griffon here, because it doesn't deal any additional damage to leather. It's just going to deal its normal set damage. But we're gonna try and go on in this guy, and you'll see that we actually do a pretty okay job. You'll notice these new triangle icons to show that I'm doing more damage than usual. And whenever he does damage, you'll notice there's also triangles for that as well. If he did additional damage, there would be, but there isn't in this case, which is very nice. So we do fairly well fighting against it. I think if I had gems, I'd probably be able to kill it. But obviously I'm not gemmed out right now, so sadly we do get horribly murdered by it, even though we get it very low. So I think it's definitely possible. I also don't have my ancestral abilities, unfortunately, because I'm only level 3 ancestral. But that's okay. So yeah, when that happens, I lose all my points back down to 0. And that can happen very easily in here. So it is advised that you go in with a party. Alright, so now that I've hit level 6 of the Faerie request, I'm going to go ahead and show you the rewards that I got from this. And then we'll go into my final thoughts, because I do have a lot of thoughts. So for actually completing the Faerie quest, you'll notice I get 50 infusions, 50 Exalted infusions, and 50 of the new scrolls, which are used on the Glorious gear to take it up to the next tier, which is called Exalted. This does mean that the scrolls are exclusive to the garden, and there is no way of crafting up to them. You can't craft up from Brilliant Scrolls to the new scrolls, which is... it's very unfortunate. So I think the reward... I don't know what the other reward levels are for each tier, but I assume it's going to go up by 10s for each one that you get. For each level that you get, so at 12 you'll get like 120 infusions, 120 scrolls, maybe. I could be completely wrong, there might be more to it. Hopefully, I'll get a bit more information on that when it actually launches. But yeah, I think now I can give my final thoughts on the expansion so far. This is without the story quests. I know there's like, I'm pretty sure there's like a costume you can get in the story quest. There's probably a lot in here to do with the story quests. I've not been able to do the Amphelon raid. And I'm not sure if the hero powers it, or the, not the hero powers, the god powers are in the new ultimate abilities. They are probably tied to the story quest in some form, I imagine. And I've not got to try them yet, so... I don't know if they're in, they might be, we'll see. We'll see on launch. But my final thoughts are, like, I think the scrolls definitely need to be changed. There needs to be a way of acquiring these outside of the garden, at least for Unchained. Like, let people upgrade their Brilliant Scrolls to the new Glorious ones. I think that is a must. So people that don't have the garden expansion can still gear up, even if it's at a lesser rate, because I still think this is probably the best they could do business model wise. Because, I mean, the game's it's got a small player base, let's be honest. And I think if they are struggling for money, this is the best business model they can do. It's one that's very common within the industry. But definitely make it so people can get those scrolls. The new Exalted infusions are worth like 4,000 XP, which is a lot of XP as well. So I think people are going to probably have a lot of concerns with that, because that's going to, you know, fast track a lot of people to getting their gear a lot quicker. It is very grindy though. Especially if you're solo. This is not an expansion for solo players. So I'm going to need to find a group. So hit me up. But yeah, it's definitely not for solo players. It's going to be very tough for a lot of people. And I think if you are below... I'm trying to... Like, if you're below 10k at least, you know, it's probably not worth picking up just yet. I'd say wait a little bit. Wait until you've geared up. At least in legendary gear. Because I think you can then, you know, make good use of the infusions. You could do this at a... you could do it at an even lower level, and you could just go in and AFK and gather stuff for the scout quest. So you can... oh, not the scout... I keep calling it the scout quest. The Faerie quest. And then you could make use of that and get a bunch of infusions to fast track your gear. But I don't know if it's worth it just yet. I'd say hold out if you're a low gear score. For higher gear score players... I mean, there's a fair amount of content in here. I don't know if it justifies the price points. This may just be because I haven't got to experience the story quests or the new Amphelon raid, the corrupted Amphelon that's in there, because I believe he spawns 8 PM GMT on a Saturday. I think there's another day spawns as well, not 100%. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a concern that there is a bit of pay to win in there. I feel like the potions and the food maybe should only be usable within the garden, at least on Unchained. Or I don't know, I'm trying to think, because obviously as the gear progresses, you do need to be able to recover more health and mana and whatnot, but I think maybe keep it so you could only use it within the garden or within garden expansion areas, because it looks like from the map like there's going to be more areas. We still don't know. I didn't find the new Golden Sanctuary dungeon in there. I don't think that's in. I think that'll come in further down the line. I don't know whereabouts it would be. It might be a new zone that attaches to the garden. Maybe if you like get outside the map boundaries, you could maybe find it. I'm not 100%. I might go have a little bit of a look around, but that doesn't appear to be in there just yet. I feel like there's not a ton in the garden. The garden's a beautiful zone. Everything in there looks like the art looks great. But outside of all you're really getting in there is the Faerie quest, the new Amphelon raid, and some story quests. And I guess that does also unlock the next hero gear, but I think that's an issue. I think that needs to change for Unchained. I think you should be able to get that outside the garden. Just for those players that are concerned about pay to win, I think that's the best solution. Just have it so brilliant upgrades to it. I'm trying to think what else you could maybe do, because it's still going to be slow for those players. But I don't know. Maybe you guys have some more solutions. They're kind of my final thoughts on it. I think, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I'll give more impressions of it once it actually launches, because there's obviously a big chunk of content I'm missing with the story quests, as well as the Amphelon raid. And then I'll also kind of get to experience it in a bit more of a group, because I've just been going in on my own, looking around for the most part. But yeah, if you like exploring, it's cool. I'll say that much. It's very nice looking. Other than that, I don't really know. But yeah, let me guys know what you think about the garden. Hopefully this gives you all a good idea of what's to come. And when it actually comes out, I'll give a proper first impressions. We'll look into the patch notes, see if they make any of the changes we're looking for. And if not, I'll keep complaining about it, I guess, until we, get the game we want. So thank you for watching, everyone. Make sure to check me out on Twitch, all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm not going to do the like favorite. I mean, I'm just doing it. That's fine. Okay. See you in the next video.